Hi everybody, this is Mr. Castro speaking, and I'm recording this video for my English 11 students at Santa Teacher High. So this is going to be, this assignment that you see on the screen is going to be our very last practice assignment for our upcoming paraphrasing exam. And the paraphrasing exam that we'll be taking is going to be on a similar level of difficulty as this practice exam. So you want to make sure that as you complete this practice assignment, you are doing your very best to understand how to complete it correctly. So the first thing you want to do for this practice assignment is to watch this short video about the author. So at the very top of your assignment, and by the way, this assignment is posted in our Google Classroom. When you open up this assignment, click on this link, and it's a short 4-minute video about Malcolm X. You want to understand Malcolm X's background. That way, you'll better understand the context of this speech. Right here on the first page, you have a lot of the words from the text defined for you. So if you come across any unfamiliar words as you're reading through the speech, check out this first page to see if there's a definition provided. On the second page, we have a little bit of background about the speech. So this speech is titled Message to Grassroots, and it was a public speech delivered by human rights activist Malcolm X. The speech was delivered on November 10, 1963 at the Northern Negro Grassroots Leadership Conference, which was held at King Solomon Baptist Church in Detroit, Michigan. So the word grassroots is actually defined for us. If you scroll to the top right here, grassroots means ordinary people regarded as the main body of an organization's membership. So it means ordinary people, main body of an organization's membership. So for example, in the United States, we have two main political parties, the Republican Party and the Democrat Party. And in each political party, the people that vote, but they are not involved in any kind of leadership capacity in their political party, they would be regarded as the grassroots, right? Because they are like the members of an organization's, of that political party. And they're the main body. So most of the members of any kind of organization, that's going to be just the members, not the officers, not anybody with any kind of leadership. So when it comes to a civil rights or a human rights movement, same concept. All of the people that support that movement, but they're not part of the leadership, they would be the grassroots. So right here in the first section, we have it completed for us. What I'm going to do is I'm going to explain step by step how we got this answer right here. So there are 5 steps to paraphrasing. The very first step is to read the section and do your best to understand it. If you're not understanding something, then read it again, read the sentence before it, read the sentence after it, use context clues. Also look at the definition list on the first page to help you understand what you're reading. Once you have a good understanding of what that section is about, you move on to step 2, which is to explain the overall main idea of that section. So right here on the right side, we have the overall main idea in sentence 1 of the paraphrasing. Step 3 of the paraphrasing process is to highlight. And the way you highlight is you're going to change the highlighting each time the author changes topic. So whenever the author starts talking about something different, that's when you highlight in a different color. So we see right here on the left side that there are 3 topics. The first topic in yellow, the second topic in blue, and lastly, the third topic in green. Once you have determined the number of topics, then for step 4, you paraphrase each topic in order. So we see on the right-hand side how each topic from the left has been paraphrased. And when we paraphrase each topic, we simply explain the main idea of that topic in our own words. After we paraphrase each topic in order, then the very last step, step number 5, is to compare the work that we've typed up on the right-hand side to the original text on the left. And we want to make sure that we're not simply just copying words and phrases, but we're using our own words as much as possible. So let's go ahead and read through this first section together. And step one is to read it and understand it. So Malcolm X starts by saying, we want to have just an off-the-cuff chat between you and me, us. We want to talk right down to earth in a language that everybody here can easily understand. So off-the-cuff chat, that might be confusing, that phrase right here. But if we look at the first page, off the cuff is actually defined for us. It means impromptu or without preparation. So it's basically like something spontaneous. Like if you have like a random conversation with somebody, that's off the cuff, right? It wasn't planned. It wasn't done with preparation. So he's basically saying to the audience, we're going to have an off-the-cuff discussion. We're going to have like the spontaneous or random discussion. I don't have this speech like prepared in advance. And then he says he wants to talk in a language that everybody can easily understand. So he wants to make sure that everything that he's saying is clearly understood by his audience. He goes on to talk about some kind of problem. I see the words very serious problem repeated. So right here he says very serious problem. America has a very serious problem. Have a very serious problem, and he repeats problem over and over again. So we know that he's talking about some kind of problem here. And specifically, he talks about minorities here and how they're viewed as problematic and they're unwanted in America. And then he goes on to talk about how they need to face this as a fact. They need to accept that as a reality. So overall, he's talking about how racial minorities are viewed in the US, because most of it's right here in the middle. And he's mostly talking about how they're viewed as some kind of problem and they're not wanted, so they're not welcome in the US. So to put that in our own words, we have that right here in line 1 of our paraphrasing. Malcolm X speaks about how racial minorities are perceived in the US. So step 1, we read it and we did our best to understand it. Step 2, we wrote our main idea sentence right here. Step 3 is the highlighting part. So each time the author transitions to a different topic, that's when we change the highlighting. So in the first 2 sentences, he talks about this conversation that they're having. Now he wants to make sure that he's being understood by his audience. Right here in this first blue line, he starts talking about how America has a problem. So he's no longer talking about how he wants to be understood. Right here in this first blue sentence, it's a different topic. So that's why the highlighting changes. It's a new topic now. And then throughout the rest of this right here, he continues to talk about this problem being the minorities, specifically African Americans, and how they're not wanted and viewed as a problem. And then going on, he starts talking about how they need to accept this as a reality and how they need to move forward. So this is more of like a solution. So it's almost like he's talking about the problem right here and then taking action or coming up with a solution right here. So that last part right here is about a different topic, right? It's about like solving this problem or moving forward from it. So that's step 3. We've highlighted the different topics. Step 4, we want to paraphrase each topic, and we do that by explaining the main idea of each topic in our own words. So if we look at the yellow part right here, he wants to be very clear in what he is saying. That's basically what he's saying. So notice how we explain it here on the right-hand side. We're putting it in our own words. We're not simply just copying words from the original text. If we look at the next paraphrase sentence, he argues that racial minorities, especially Black Americans, are unwelcome in the US and seen as problematic. You'll notice that this blue section on the left is really long, but we have the short sentence right here. But that's because we have the main idea of that. We don't need every single detail from that section. We just need the main idea of that topic. Lastly, he argues that Black Americans need to accept this reality so they can move forward in a better direction. Okay, so that's step 4. We've paraphrased the main idea of each topic in order. And lastly, for step 5, we compare the left side and the right side. And we want to make sure that we're not just copying a bunch of words from the left. We're using our own words as much as possible. Okay, so that's how we got this answer right here. If you scroll down, let's work on this second section together. The second section is shorter. But remember that a shorter section doesn't always mean it's going to be easier. Sometimes a shorter section could be harder. So let's just go ahead and read it and see if we understand it. So step 1, we want to read this and make sure we understand what the author is saying. So right here, he says, so we are all Black people, so-called Negroes, second-class citizens, ex-slaves. You're nothing but an ex-slave. You don't like to be told that, but what else are you? You are ex-slaves. You did not come here on the Mayflower. You came here on a slave ship in chains, like a horse or a cow or a chicken. And you were brought here by the people who came here on the Mayflower. You were brought here by the so-called pilgrims or founding fathers. They were the ones who brought you here. So he says, he uses second-person language a lot, like you, right? You are nothing. You don't like to be told that you are ex-slaves. So he's speaking to an African-American audience. But if you look at the dates of the speech, it was in 1963. And at that time, the people that were alive and present in this audience, they weren't the ones who were slaves. It was their ancestors, the ones that came before them, that were forcibly brought to the US and were brought here as slaves. So he says you a lot, but he's really referring to the ancestors of everybody in the audience. So that he's saying that their ancestors are ex-slaves. They were brought here in chains and treated like animals, right? He says like a horse or a cow or a chicken, they were basically treated like animals. And they did not come here on the Mayflower. The Mayflower is actually defined for us. It's an English ship that transported the pilgrims from England to the New World. So they weren't treated nicely. They weren't brought on a nice Mayflower ship, but they came on a slave ship and once again treated like animals. So we understand what this is about. It's about their ancestors, how they were forcibly brought over to the United States from Africa, and how they were treated like animals. So that's step 1. Step 2, we want to make sure we have our main idea sentence. So we can actually copy this sentence starter right here. Malcolm X speaks about. And once again, we know this is about their history of slavery. So Malcolm X speaks about the African American history of slavery. So now we have our main idea sentence. Now for step 3, we want to highlight, and the number of highlighting depends on the number of topics. But looking at it closely, he talks about how their ancestors were slaves. They were brought here on a slave ship. They were brought here by the pilgrims. The whole thing, he's talking about slavery, the whole section. So because he never really changes to a second topic, we highlighted all one color because it's all about the same topic. So it's different from the first section because the first section, he transitions from topic to topic, and there's 3 topics, but here in the second one, it's just 1 topic altogether. So next we have to paraphrase the main idea of this section. What is he saying about their history of slavery? So in our own words, we want to explain what this is about. And he's saying that their ancestors were brought here and they were treated like animals, right? They were forcibly brought here on a slave ship. So I can type their ancestors were forcibly brought to the US as slaves and treated like animals, period. And then I will highlight that yellow, and now I am all done. The last step is to compare the left and the right. You'll notice I didn't just copy a bunch of words from the left, I used my own words as much as possible. Okay, so that's how we paraphrase. Now that the first 2 sections are completed, all you have to do to complete your assignment is scroll down and follow the exact same process step by step for sections 3, 4, and 5. Don't forget to go back to page 1 if you come across any unfamiliar words. And if you have any questions, feel free to ask me in class or send me an email. So thank you guys for watching and have a great day.